Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Open Book Broadcast. I'm Allie with the Right Place, Right Time, your host. Open Book Broadcast is a great and fun time for me to interview some of my favorite people within the publishing industry, and we talk about anything and everything to do with writing and publishing books and all the things in between, because we're an open book about it and we love to talk about this stuff. So today's guest, I'm super pumped to introduce, because we haven't had a conversation like this one on Open Book Broadcast in the last 2 years that we've been doing these interviews. So I am welcoming on to today's episode Parchelle Tashi, who's an award-winning creative educator who partners with authors to help them repurpose and monetize their best-selling books as premium, profitable learning experiences that create impact with a T at the end, and additional income. Parchelle, welcome.
Thanks, Allie. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
I'm like super pumped because we have not really had a conversation that has talked about turning books into additional revenue streams in the way that Authors Leverage does it. So I'm pretty pumped that you're here so that we can really talk to authors about how they can get more bang for their book, which I know I stole a catchphrase of yours that we're going to talk about a little bit later. But before we dive into all the things business, let's let the world know who you are when the lights in the office go down and you step into your other roles and hats in life.
Oh, I love it. Well, once I step out of the office, I'm a friend, I'm a daughter, I'm someone who loves cooking and experiencing life in different ways. So you might see me traveling or at an event or something like that. I usually am happier and good and in balance when I'm in that flow. So I do that. And I'm also a homebody, very much so. So I'm very much also will be curled up with my favorite TV show with my new cat Grits. So that's...
I love it. Now, what color is Grits? I have to know.
Grits is white. He's like white with little stripes, super cute.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Grits, what a great name. So does Grits cuddle up with you for those favorite TV shows that you like?
Yes.
Excellent.
He purrs and all these things. So I've never actually, had a animal as a pet. Was always around other people's pets. So it's such an interesting bond that I didn't know I could have. So
yeah. I love it.
It's amazing.
Okay, what's the current favorite show that you're watching right now?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'll say what I was just watching recently, which was Abbott Elementary.
Okay.
Always a good laugh. Probably watched the season, the whole series maybe once already. So I'm that person that will definitely repeat a season and just play episodes when I can, because they're just fun to watch. So Abbott Elementary is that one for me right now.
Awesome. I saw 3 cast members from Abbott Elementary on a Wheel of Fortune episode.
Oh.
And that was like, I'm obviously an old soul. I'm watching Wheel of Fortune and I've got my 7-year-old into it. But it was the first time that I had heard about Abbott Elementary. It looks great. So now I've got your ringing endorsement. I recently just finished the recent season of The Witcher on Netflix. Oh,
nice. Okay.
Which I have to say, I really enjoyed. I don't usually like second or third seasons after the first one. I feel like they get worse.
Yeah. Sometimes they do.
but this one was really good. All right, TV aside, let's jump into books, publishing, and all the things. Why don't we just start with award-winning creative educator? Let's start there and then give us like the kind of like origin story of where that turned into what you're doing now.
Absolutely. So I'm from Virginia Beach, over on the East Coast. And there I was a high school math teacher with a master's in curriculum and instruction, and was on a path to just be a teacher. And the last 2 years that I taught high school, I had a little side hustle where I was doing videos for different businesses, for events, for churches, for all, like, you name it. I was the one-woman show showing up with all my little equipment and, filming. And so I honestly have been doing that kind of work for, since I was like 13, 14 years old. Got on the computer to make the graphics that they wanted us to hand out for church. Like, I hated the way they looked, and I'm like, this has to be better. So that's what got me on the computer, just, getting creative and finding a way to solve a problem, but do it in a creative way. So I did that. And then, like I said, once I got to now I'm teaching full time, someone had asked me, well, how much would you charge to make something for me? And mind you, I'd seen entrepreneurship my entire life, but it was always like contractor work and stuff that I'm like, that's not for me. And so when someone asked me if I could, do something for them, I thought, wow, okay, so I could have fun. I could be doing this and have some income on the side as a teacher. So I went with that intention. And then got with a business coach and realized like, wow, I really enjoy the freedom I'm creating for myself. And wow, I could be doing this full time. And that's exactly what I did. So I'm saying all this to say that the educator part of me is still there, tried and true. And I taught math of all things, which is one of the hardest things to do, I think, among subjects. So, I had that experience, but nevertheless, I actually grew a production company. So I went from like one person, one woman show of doing video creation to actually running multi-site shoots across the country in different locations. And so that experience is what actually allowed me to win some awards, if you will, on some of the projects that I was a part of. And since then, I've just been in that position of just facilitating a lot of really great video. Now, did that for a number of organizations and folks for a period of time. And after the pandemic, or during the pandemic, I should say, is when I wasn't really fulfilled at the end of the day with just making videos for the sake of making videos, and stumbled upon an opportunity to, I was really just frustrated and wanted to find out what it was again that could spark that creative engine in me, and picked up the camera again. So mind you, I hadn't touched the camera, picked up the camera again, and to kind of go on this journey to find out what that would be, and stumbled upon an author who wanted to create an online course for their book. And on the video side, that's where they needed the most support. But being a part of the entire process really allowed me to see, wow, this is something that's really exciting. I love being on set. I love what we were able to execute for this program. And I felt so inspired by the content we were creating and the effect it was going to have on people, because I could sense it was really powerful. So that's what Full Circle brought all those things together. So in supporting authors in this way, there's a lot of skill sets that are coming behind that in terms of what we're leading. And so, that's my background as an educator, as a creative who's done a lot of video production, have a lot of experience in curriculum and development in that respect with learning design, and have just really been fortunate to find that these skills come together to support some of my favorite people who are authors. I've been collecting books since I was like 13, and always nonfiction books too. I never really read fiction. I was always into nonfiction. So all the things work. It was like green light, green light, green light, green light. Go forward. Honestly, answering the question for me of like, what is my highest contribution to other people? And these are these skill sets and these things that excite me that come together, and I'm able to contribute to others.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's so funny, like those journeys we go on to figure out how all of those pieces, fit together. Like, short version of my own kind of like evolution or path was like, I was in psychology, had a psych degree, did a lot of stuff in mental health. I went on to get a master's, and I was like, nah, changed over to get, a master's degree, and then couldn't find, a master's degree for writing that would translate to anything in like real life. And so then it was like, I went through all these different job iterations until finally I went out on the entrepreneurial path. And it wasn't until like last year, 5 years in, that I was like, oh, so this is how the psych piece works. This is how that other job component fits in. This is how that skill set, comes in here. And so now it's like, oh, I've got like this sweet mashup of all these experiences that like serve my authors and my clients like in the best way possible. I think too, and like, what are your thoughts on this? I feel like when I work with authors, a lot of the authors that I work with tend to be first-time authors. So they don't know the publishing space. They don't know how to write a book. They don't consider themselves writers. They're usually business owners, entrepreneurs, visionaries, leaders, right? Who know that the next thing that they want to do, or the next thing that they've been told that they should do is write a book, right? So I find that like educating comes 100% hand in hand with anything that I offer, because there's so much about this industry that people have no clue about when they like embark on the journey of writing a book. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. There's so many angles that people are approaching publishing books right now, and different ways that that folks are going about it. And So your question is, what was your question? You said, is what I think about that?
Yeah, like what, so from as an educator, like, well, actually, let's go this way. What do you find yourself having to educate authors about the most when they end up working with you?
What they end up needing education mostly is around how to market and promote their product and their book. And oftentimes that's I will give an overarching education around that. But because there is so much involved in to actually execute that, right? I have a number of partners that I can call on to come in now, take the reins of whatever support is needed for that. But yeah, the marketing side of things and how they can also leverage their book are some other conversations that we have, like what other ways they can be most successful with leveraging their books. So those are the things that I end up educating most on. One of my favorite signature talks is the 5 ways to get more bang for your book. And that's where I'm able to actually expound upon, especially for new authors, how they can now be looking with a little bit more foresight into their book, right? Don't just have your sights set on, all right, I'm going to be a published author. It's like you can actually from today strategically consider how this book is going to support your business. And you can do that before your book is even published. For example, if I were to make a post right now that says, hey, I've got a book coming out in the fall of next year, or whatever it is, this is the topic, this is what I'm excited about. You can start some engagement there, which is actually, again, you leveraging the book and leveraging that thought leadership as an opportunity for more conversation, more opportunities to be in talks about what it is that you do and how you help people.
Yeah. So let's go there then. So leveraging their book, because this is definitely something that comes up with me, and I'm not a marketing person. I'm a person who works the manuscript and then gets the client to like the next stop on the train track, right? Like, okay, now we're going to get you a publisher, and now I'm done and you're on to the next piece. But the thing is I'm always telling my folks, from the very beginning, like, you can't wait until the manuscript's done to start talking about your book, building that author presence and platform, those types of things, right? But this isn't my area of expertise. I just know enough to tell them, like, get going. I'm not really the person that's going to be helping them execute those things, because I'm really focused on getting that book where it needs to be so that there is a book, for people to enjoy, when it's ready. So like, what would you say to an author about leveraging that book? So, I mean, I would say, like, don't just focus on book sales and then explain to people what that means. But like, what are your kind of main, like, top 3 things that you often tell authors when it comes to really getting most out of their book?
Yeah, one of the things I love to kind of use this analogy, which is your book is like the Eiffel Tower, right? The Eiffel Tower in Paris is like the main attraction that people want to see and take a picture with and, be around. Now, the Eiffel Tower, it makes money as an experience. However, it's the places around it, the experiences around it that make more revenue, if you will, from that. And so that's been my perspective in seeing our books and what it is that is actually in front of us. It's a full library of other experiences you can create around it. So there's museums, there's shops, there's restaurants, there's all these things that kind of create this map and a fun around your book, if you will, around the Eiffel Tower. The key really in reaching any success when it comes to leveraging your book is it just boils down to repurposing it, honestly. You've already got the nuts and bolts of the why in most cases around your topics or maybe the overarching framework. But the big jump that people have to make is, or I should say, not that's going to indicate how impactful your work is if people actually do it. Yeah. It's one thing to write a book about how to ride a bike, right? And then it's the difference when people are like, I rode a bike and your book helped me do it. Very completely different, case. And how people get into action, right? You can craft that, you can create those experiences. So oftentimes what I share with authors around leverage is really to think about what's always going to be at work as a principle. So these principles in mind will help you to think strategically about how you can repurpose your book. The first thing that I always share is that publishing creates credibility 100%. You being the author, the person that wrote on this topic, is you're going to have that credibility, but the products and experiences are we're going to create cash. So that's hugely important. Experiences are what are going to create that additional revenue for you. The other thing that I often talk about a lot is that people will pay for implementation. So now if we're talking about like, well, how can my book make more money besides just the book sale itself? If you create an experience, and that could be digital, where now you're giving them the conditions to be successful with what you have taught in your book, that is what people will pay for, especially if if you've written in the genres of anything about wealth building, health related things, or their mental health, or benefits there, or relationships, or leadership development, which is also big right now. Those topics are going to be wildly successful as digital products and experiences, because implementing those things is hard to do by yourself.
Yeah.
So this is where the opportunity lies, right? And so I usually, instead of telling people exactly what to do, I give framework, but these are the things that you have to want to keep in mind. People will pay for implementation. Your book is not going to make the money. The experiences around them will. And the products is what creates the cash. You know what I mean? Like, it's your book in and of itself is only going to cover so much. It's what you do with it, right?
Yeah.
So, and that can be leveraging stages. It could be, just a number of arenas that I usually like to get into. But I hope that's helpful for those listening. Like, those are the three things I talk about all the time.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, your book is the Eiffel Tower. I don't know if you've got that as like a blog post or a social media thing or whatever, but like that needs to be like its own thing, because that speaks so beautifully to like how this all works. I often, when I'm talking to authors about the ROI, I often say that like the ROI in a book is like a bowl of spaghetti, and it's not like a clothesline. So clothesline, it's like one side is the book and the other side is like a direct sale. And so whatever you spent on your book, you make back in direct sales, right? This like linear approach. And that's just like not how it works. Whereas it's more like, it's like you don't really know where it starts and ends. It's like, well, the book got you onto a podcast, the podcast got you on, in front of 20,000 people. Of those 20,000 people, this many people bought the book, so you got sales there, but then this many people came back to the website, booked a call with you. This many people then signed and agreed to like work with you in some capacity. So really, they came from the podcast came from your book. So that's a correlation between, and they're like, what, their mind is usually, rolling off their shoulders at that point, but it's like, no, that's the reality of this industry. Book sales are nice, to say that somebody bought the book, but like, that's not really where you're going to make back all that time and energy you just invested in putting that really beautiful book out there. So I love what you're saying about all the things to kind of create around it. The book is kind of in the center, but like, what kind of world and experience are you building, around that piece? So what should an author know about you before they begin? Like, so what's like first step in working with you? What do they need to have ready when they're like coming to work with you?
Yeah, absolutely. Typically, coming to work with us, we do want there to be a manuscript in place that's solid and ready to go. And then from that is where we start to get to work through our initial phase, which is fully what we call business visioning, and also the actual course strategy and design. So those are the things that we're usually typically handling first before we even press record, before we create anything. So that's the initial stage. And just to get ready to work with us, we like to have a manuscript, and we have a questionnaire where typically that's going to be around just giving us an understanding of your business overall, because again, your book is now part of your ecosystem. And a book is a very powerful piece of that ecosystem. And we like to create the product in a way that's going to, like we talked about before, create a very seamless customer journey from someone getting your book, or maybe they're at a conference and hear you speak on stage, and on stage you offer this other small product with it. It could be a challenge. It could be a digital workbook, which is one of my favorite discoveries as of late. So there's a number of things that, can come on the tail end of that and can be used in tandem with wherever you are as an expert. That's the thing that I really appreciate about the book and about those who are actively talking about it, is that that's honestly half the battle. If you're using it and you're got your mouth moving or your hands typing with content around it, you'll be fine, and you'll be able to direct those things towards creating products and other experiences around the book.
Now, so you said that as long as the manuscript is done, so people are kind of coming to you then at different places in the journey. So they're not yet published, they're published, right? Do you have people who come to you like 2 or 3 years after the book's already been out?
Yeah, we have. Okay. And oftentimes, and that's somewhere where we're able to also review the content of your book and, see, looking at some market research and just other aspects we'll know about the author themselves to see, is this subject matter still relevant today? And if it is, we can totally revamp it. And it's a great opportunity also to bring to life the message of your book again.
Okay.
Maybe you went on hiatus and or just life happened or whatever, you're ready to shift gears in a direction that is going to support your overall mission and what you want to do. It could be that first book that you put out, right? Maybe it's time for a second edition. And with that attention, now you can have another sort of playground around it of other experiences for your readers.
Yeah, I love that, because I feel like, so in like traditional publishing, right, it's like your book's old news as soon as it's out, right? Like you get like a year, 2 years, and then it's like, oh, it's backlist. But I feel like when you're an independent author, you really have the chance to like milk it for all it's worth. Keep going back to the drawing board, keep repurposing it, as you mentioned, like do another edition. Whatever it is, like don't let the investment that you made originally just sit there because it's reached 2 years or 3 years old. Like, look at it with a new set of eyes, invest in a professional person who can help you see it differently, get the money back, because it's not a light investment amount when you're putting a really great product out there, such as a book. Now, what about, you mentioned digital workbooks for authors. So tell us a little bit, you kind of mentioned this is like a latest discovery. So what's a digital workbook? What should they be thinking of? Should I share my screen?
Okay. So yeah, we'll share it in a second. So let me just preface this in saying that the space of online courses has changed, and what's required with online courses to be effective now definitely requires a community and people-to-people element. It just does, right? When we talk about taking a learning experience online, it can be done on demand, but the more effective results are going to come from community engagement, you as the author being present to your readers in whatever container that looks like. And so the other thing that I'll say about courses is that they're not that easy to create. And I'm saying this as someone who's been doing this for the last few years with different authors. It really is a lot of work, even for us in saying that. And so with that, it's so important that we are creating products and experiences that are going to be more relevant to the reader, and at a particular stage for your reader that's going to make the most sense. So what I mean is that someone can read your book and now be excited to jump into the online course. That's a possibility. For a lot of people, that can be a jump, right? The biggest hurdle, or I should say the biggest gap that needs to be addressed after someone reads your book, is they need to somehow have the ability and the framework within to now start to apply it and to integrate it. That can happen in the course, but there, to me, and what I've observed in the market, there's like this small gap between the book and a full online course that's community driven and has a lot of these components. And that is a digital workbook. And a digital workbook, to best explain it, most of us have seen and been, in a course or a program where you got an amazing workbook, right? A digital workbook or something you could download as a PDF that allowed you to, reflect, you can answer questions, you can do your own work. But I'm curious, and I would love your feedback too. What happens with those PDFs? What do you do with them? Do you save them? Do you keep them? How often do you go back to them? I'm just curious.
Oh, God. I'm like a person that if I'm going to download something, I have to get to it like pronto, or I'm going to forget about it. It's going to get downloaded, it's going to get saved, and I will have had the best of intention to like do it. Yeah. And then it just didn't happen. Exactly. So, I'm like I've got to be really invested and motivated to like do it right away. And a lot of the time I even have to print that shit out. Like it's got to be physically in front of me so that I don't forget that it's there and that it was something that I wanted to engage with. And I had all of the intention of like actually working with. Actually doing it. Yeah. It happens to all of us. And I think that there's, and this is that gap that the digital workbook is addressing, the way that we are creating a digital workbook. So if you want to, you can go ahead and share your screen now, and I'll show you an example. So I created a digital workbook that was based on a presentation that I gave, 5 ways to get more bang for your book. And this is literally just like a beta example of what we've created. This is a template made in another software program that enables the reader
to have their own digital workbook where if you can scroll down, you'll see like there's an overview of what I covered in the presentation. So there's links, but then once you get to this middle section here, for example, where you see these are the main components that I talk about. An author can leverage their book in these 5 ways. They can use the book to build their platform, to launch a product, to take the stage, create an experience, and collaborate with experts. That's my framework that I teach. Now, if you hit the triangle next to build your platform, I want to show you really the power of this digital workbook. So, and let's look at actually launch a product. Let's look at that one as well. As you can see under each of these toggles, there's an area where the reader can reflect and fill in their own responses to the questions, make notes about that particular chapter or section. And all of it is customized and personalized to them, to where either on their mobile device or on their laptop or their computer, they can go and not only get back to the content and the framework that they've learned to reiterate that, they also have a place to reflect and easily come back to, change and update as they wish. And so this creates, for what we've seen and experienced thus far, a really great in-between for the reader to be able to have a one-stop place where they can do that. Now, I'm not sure why on this particular version there aren't videos that are showing, but there are videos that show as well, and then a resource section at the bottom. And just different elements that you can add in as well. So this all can be customized for your book. And this is our newest offering that we're developing and launching as a product. And again, this is an example. It's going to look very different for every single book, but as a stepping stone, this is a really easy, no-brainer offer that you as an author can make as an extension of your book that's not going to tie them down to downloading PDFs and whatnot, but they're in a place that's personalized to them based on your book, based on your framework, that allows them a place to reflect and to be in integration and application of what they've learned. So yes, this is an example of that digital workbook. Again, maybe when you see this again and have to double check, there is the video component as well that's incorporated here. So for under each of those sections, there's a video.
You mean underneath each of these?
Yeah, they're supposed to be. I could share my screen too to show that, but
here, let's do this.
Let's do that. Okay.
There we go. All right, you take the wheel.
Perfect. All right, awesome. So, all right, here we go. All right, you can see this?
Yep.
Excellent. So yeah, scrolling down for each of those, you can see this video here. That's what
I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know why on that end it didn't
okay.
show. But yeah, there's a video here that, and again, this is where from the video production side and other multimedia assets can now even more so enrich this experience, and exclusive videos that are just from you can be a part of this as a digital workbook. So, and again, there's places to reflect, go back to, and again, it's not a full-blown course, but it is an amazing stepping stone that addresses the main need that your reader needs, which is how can I take this and get into action about it, really start to reflect and dig into the work. So
it's amazing.
We're really, really excited about that. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's awesome. It's like all the things in one place. It's like the short video, it's the summary, it's now I'm wondering, and this is like a selfish reason, but I'm co-authoring a book that's coming out in January, and at the end of each chapter, we've got key takeaways and to-dos. And I've seen a lot of nonfiction books, right, do something similar where they're summarizing action items and then they're putting reflective questions that the reader can kind of engage with. Are books like that kind of like perfectly set up to kind of, just segue over into a digital workbook because some of that meat is already created?
Exactly. So we have this as a digital template that you can use and customize on your own. And if you want us to take the charge of leading that as curriculum and learning design experts and video production specialists that can do that with you remotely or in person on the West Coast, like we've got you. And that in essence is how we're able to support authors. And books like that are a great opportunity and a great, again, application step, because you have the questions there, but where are they going to reflect?
Yeah, exactly.
And again, you can provide that, but the way that that's typically been done has been through a PDF. However, you don't have to do that. And that's what we're excited about now, is that the reader has a very more high-tech, high-touch experience that's exclusive to them for them to reflect and get into the work.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love it. I think it's brilliant and cutting edge, and like definitely the thing that's you're right, like that gap in between, you know, are people going to really jump from buying a book at $14.99 to $1,000 course, you know, when they haven't quite given what you've already put out in the book a test drive, you know, to kind of know that they are going to get the results, right? Like a workbook is a really great way to just start getting a little bit of implementation, seeing if you like kind of the results that you're getting just from smaller exercises and smaller action, which honestly is really what people have time for right now in the world, right? Like we're all so busy that it's like, it's the small wins, it's the small consistent steps, and it's more manageable for us to think of completing a workbook than it is to commit to a, you know, 6 month, 12-month, you know, whatever course. So I think it's great. I think it's amazing.
Thank you.
So you're already, so the digital workbook, then you're selling as either like a customize it yourself template at one price point, I'm guessing, or they like work with your team and they get like the whole shebang.
Exactly. Done for you.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, cool. All right. So this video is in November of 2023. At this time of year, what should authors or course creators be thinking about now that we're ramping down and we're looking to like the following year?
Yeah, definitely start to plan out your entire year. I always recommend that doing a visioning to see, again, your business as an ecosystem, and to honestly aligning your business with what fits and works for you. And I can't emphasize that enough. Yes, you have a book, you have probably a number of things in motion, a lot to manage, but at the end of the day, it has to be in alignment with who you are. And that's what I love too about what I'm doing with a lot of experts and teachers, because across the board, what I've heard over and over again is they just would love for somebody to do the heavy lifting so they could just show up and teach. And that's exactly what you can start to think about. Think about how, again, how you can move forward, how you can be really strategic about it in a way that honors you as the person who's running this, and provides a huge value to your audience as well. And again, I also recommend thinking about that gap, right, between your book and between, let's say, another container like a program or an online course. This particular idea of a digital workbook is something that, it's that impulse buy, if you will, like after somebody has got the book or says, oh, I could get the book and this for like $100 or for $200 or whatever, like that's the playing space that you might be in with that. But honestly, you'll see that just by doing a side-by-side comparison of just having the projection of numbers, you're going to do much more in revenue for your book and having that product available. And be able to take that and leverage it, especially if you're a speaker, right? So now you're on a stage and you can offer your digital workbook, and you can incentivize people. You can do a number of things with it as long as you have a product and it's strong enough a product that can, check off a lot of boxes for you when it comes to impact, right, of your work, and then income you can have in place recurring.
Yeah. Now, I'm assuming that your team would help an author figure out where to house the digital workbook,
yes,
do the commerce piece, like collect the revenue while also then like digitally delivering, the workbook.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All of that is covered. We make sure that not only you as the owner of this template of your own digital workbook, that you have all the tools and tutorials and support needed around managing it, but then also your readers are also going to get, what they need for delivery and the entire setup. So we do always, if you're working with us, make sure that's included in that is your e-commerce setup, your ability to now send a link or where to send people in order to learn about the product and to purchase it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. As somebody who is not a tech anything, like that's a huge piece, because it's like I would be all pumped about the product, but then I'd be like, yikes about how it all works and how it gets to where it needs to go while I'm just like reaping the sweet old benefit of it. All right, Parchelle, we're wrapping up our time together, although I'm sad to see you go. Where should people connect with you? And is there any kind of freebie or upcoming event that you would like to let our viewers know about?
Yeah, absolutely. So definitely reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's where you can find me and learn more about what we're up to. Also, I want to reference our ebook, which is also called 5 Ways to Get More Bang for Your Book. And you can get that at theauthorsleverage.com/ebook. And that's where, again, I go through these 5 principles, if you will, or ways to leverage your book. And I provide other details and some of behind the scenes of what we've done as well to help authors develop a digital product based on their book. So highly recommend checking that out. Yeah, those are the main things. That's where I would direct you, and always reach out if you want some more help or support. We're here for that, and love to set up any, offer any strategy as well if anybody needs.
Awesome. I will make sure, Parchelle, that all of the links to things are in with the show notes. Super pumped that we got to have this conversation. It was really, really great. I'm so excited about the digital workbook. I'm like, okay, cool. When can I get one? So I think it's great. You're brilliant. Thanks for being here. And everyone, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Open Book Broadcast. We will be back next month with another one.